So we're back on. We're back on, right? Yay. Ridiculous. I don't know what happened. You guys, I guess, couldn't see me at that time, right? Hey, okay. See Instagram, you guys got to view it all. There's not a lot of you though. Anyway, I think we're losing our. I guess what I'm saying no longer is so relevant to people because not many people here anymore. So maybe I'll just go and start like John the Baptist. I'll go into the wilderness. Um, all right, you guys back? They're not back. Not back. Hey, Instagram, are you guys? You're hearing me, right? Hello. Somebody say yes. What day and time does inner circle? What day? What day and time does each circle meet? They meet at this time. This time. Like for me, it's 7 a.m. For you guys, it's 5 p.m. or 8 p.m. or something like that. Okay, so no one's back. Let me see what this is here. All right, I can't fix it. You just joined. Okay, you guys got in. So, what? I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, and I don't really want to know what happened. I just have to know what happened. Someone's got to have that. Not me. Come on, you guys. Let me do what I do. You guys do what you do, whoever you are. All right. So, anyway, there we go. Where is yeah? So we're still doing the. Well, yeah, there, yes, there. Okay. 10 people. Okay, we're back. We'll get back. Instagram never went off. Okay. Now we were back. I was like off talking about something that I thought was important. But the zinc, copper, all that stuff, really important, right? Just really important. So is selenium. That's why this mixed mineral, there's a multi mineral complex that I use, and not that it's the best. I don't know, but I read, it looks good, and it's got a lot of. So if I take 3 of those twice a day, I'm gonna get like all the. What don't I get in there? I don't get boron, and it's got manganese, magnesium. It's got zinc. It doesn't have copper. A lot of them don't have copper. And that if you have CFCs, that's a question. Do I want more? You certainly don't want to get out of balance and have more copper than zinc. You don't want that ratio to be messed up. So that the zinc copper is the the zinc copper ratio is really important in a lot of ways. That's why our GI system was designed to absorb them in a certain ratio. Amazing. You might think it was planned. All right. We were going to start with this. This was from Mirasol, who says, "What do you recommend for my husband battling? His L1 vertebra got fractured because of the tumor growing in that area, and tumors are spreading in other parts of his ribs. Based on the prognosis of the doctor seeing his MRI result, the tumor in his L1 growing, and there's only a lining left between his spines. Please help. I don't want my husband to be paralyzed based on the prognosis of it." Right. So you see, guys here, Miracell and everyone else. you see that it's not just the diagnosis which nails you, but the diagnosis therefore allows the sorcerer to pontificate. Now they can pontificate and say, "Well, I can see what's going to happen to you." Yeah, I can see. They don't know what's going to. So, but Marisol, you got some real stuff going on there. I'm not minimizing it. I'm just trying to bring a point, establish a point. But let me help you with that. Okay, so um, quickly apologize, Marisol. Go back to the copper question, gray hair, and all that. Uh, there are uh, other things, and the zinc and all that sort of stuff, just to support that whole system. There are other ways of doing it, and there are plants and that block enzymes and stuff like that. So there are other ways of dealing with it. But mostly, I don't think I ever finished that question really. But mostly, when hair turns gray, basically it's kind of programmed to at a certain point of doubling in its lifespan, it stops producing melanin. And that's kind of that is genetic. I mean, that is kind of the gene just turns off at that certain point. That can be enhanced by people that have oxidative stress. There's a lot of things that can bring it about prematurely. But there are families where people are turning gray before they're 20. So, anyway, let's go back to Marisol. So, all right. So okay. So in other words, it's growing. So the prognosis, they're telling you, this guy's telling you what's going to happen. Now, the truth is, in this situation, it's clear what's going to happen. It's just what is happening. It just continues. Yeah. So you didn't mention it, but I'm assuming your husband has a prostate. So CFC's in his prostate because prostate goes to likes the bones. So now you're not battling anything. Okay, that's the problem. We're not battling CFCs. Battling means you want to get rid of them. But you have to understand you can't get rid of them. You can make them no longer required and they won't be there. You'd have to build a fire around your house to keep the ants out if you had a bunch of, I don't know, food, cake out. You know, they're going to keep coming. They're going to go underground. So the chronically fermenting cells that are in his prostate and now in the bone are there because they are being supported and they need to be there. They're accomplishing something. So I hope you have gone to a biological dentist, and I hope you've got a 3D cone beam CT, and I hope they have taken care of it. And if you're thinking of prostate, it's these four up here, or these bottom, the incisors. Okay, so prostate. So that's what, that's got to be taken care of last year. Secondly, you got to detoxify the body so that it doesn't need to ferment. You got to detoxify the body so it doesn't need to ferment. Mm, mm, mm. You're not going to get rid of anything. You're going to make it so it doesn't need to be there. Because you don't want to just get rid of that and have a bigger problem over here, like malignant hypertension or something crazy. Remember, the journey is health. We're all on a health journey. We're all on it. And that's why the whole family joins in. It's not just you. He's sick. No. My God. You guys watch other things, right? You watch other No one has the problems I have, right? No one. It's not possible. Jesus. Okay, so what we need to do, Marisol, is get rid of all the toxicities, the colon cleanses. I'm serious. This is like that's the way it's not going to come back. Because yeah, you can get rid of, you can do that, but it's going to come back. It's going to come back out of necessity. We've got to stop that necessity. So you've got to clean out and eliminating toxins is not like, well, I detox now, I'm fine. No, it's an ongoing process because we're continuing to be exposed. And that's everything. If you do a juice cleanse, you do colonics, lymphatics, you've got to be doing all that. You can't, Marisol, don't think that you're going to find the answer. That's not it. It's a complex situation that is arising out of more complexities. So now, but in terms of bones and prostate, now what do we know about prostate CFCs? We know that because of the work of Abraham Morgentaler, who's a urologist at Harvard, professor, and he wrote an article which was very good. It was called about something about the myth of testosterone. New perspectives on an old myth. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, he went through the literature and he said, well, how does it that people, that where did we come up with the idea that testosterone is causing this? And he found out that it doesn't, and there was only one study that in 1940 that was not kind of flawed anyway, and they came up with the conclusion that is, I mean that implication in the study became gospel. So now much of the testing and much of the therapies are blocking testosterone. So they give you Lupron. Lupron is the old days they would remove the testicles, right? Now this is a medical bilateral orchiectomy, testicle ectomy, out of the body, take it out, right? A mastectomy, orchiectomy, prostatectomy. Ectomy just means take it out. So they do now. It's called chemical castration or medical castration. So, anyways, they give you Lupron. It shuts down your hypothalamus pituitary gonadal axis. So for women too. So women with ER positive, oh my God. So they give you this and they just knock everything out. So something that arose as a compensatory process because of an imbalance cannot be resolved by making more of an imbalance. It just cannot. You can't resolve the consequences of an imbalance by making more of an imbalance. I mean, it doesn't even, no one should even think of it. Unless you went to medical school or got a PhD, then you say, this is science. This is science. Oh yeah, it's science. Anyway, what you want to do is restore balance. Okay, so now, when we look at it and we say, well, wait a minute, how come the guy that's 25 years old has an erection all day, works out at the gym, he's big, tons of testosterone, doesn't have CFCs? But the guy who's 65, who's not so strong anymore and has difficulty having an erection and low testosterone, what? How did it doesn't? Your intuition's right. What we're finding out now, though, is it's converted. Testosterone is converted into estrogen, and it's estrogen, and all prostates have estrogen receptors. So do a lot of other cells, which we're going to talk. We have a webinar coming up. But so it turns out to be the estrogen. The testosterone turns into estrogen. Yes, there are androgen receptors. Yes. But anyway, so we know that soy, which is a beta agonist, right? It makes it stimulates the beta estrogen receptor, will not decrease the risk of prostate CFCs, but also decreases the growth. So yeah, it's very good. Yeah, 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 yeah. All right. So so there's soy, there's flax, cruciferous vegetables, a lot of things that will improve that. Okay. Now, the other thing with bones is that there's an antibiotic that has been repurposed to become and for this particular situation, and that's doxycycline. I don't know if he's on doxycycline, but I would recommend it. If I were working with it, not that I can tell him what to do or you what to do. So don't take this advice to you because I don't know your situation. But in total, I'm just reading what a little bit that I've read. But so I can't make. You know, there's no way to make it. But what I do in situations where that I think you're going through is use doxycycline, and there's a lot of studies that show, and my experience shows that it can eliminate bone metastases, and it does that through multiple mechanisms. But it's the other nice little side benefit of it is that it kills CFC stem cells. So, yeah. And the downside, of course, is the fact that it's an antibiotic, so it's gonna get some of the microorganisms. And so that you have to be taking lots of probiotics and eating right. He's got to eat right. Marissa, I don't know. He's got to change his diet. He's got to cleanse his body, and you have to do it with him so that he can do it. He can't do it by himself. He won't do it by himself. He needs you to be participating. It's got to be a journey that you're going to take together. It's a healing journey. You're going to change your diets. I'm not sure what you eat. You might be eating all right already, but right now it's moving around. It's in the bones, L1, all that. You don't want it to go. You want to slow it down. So find out how to make delicious uncooked plant food, and that's it. Try to find out how to do it. Don't say should I do it. Yeah, no, yeah, it should. So we got to change the diet. We got to clean them out. You got to make sure you go to a biological dentist, right? And then you're doing all that stuff, and then you're eating healthy food. And remember, eating corpses actually increases prostate volume, so you don't want to eat corpses. For many reasons, but that's one of them. And then the other one is doxycycline. Doxycycline will really help tremendously with those metastases. And there's everything else. You got to be doing it all. Vitamin C. I hope you know, Marisol. I don't know if you know about all the stuff that is recommended. Okay, but it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's mostly lifestyle, diet, stuff like that. But movement, sleep, all these things. I don't see any comments by you guys anymore. What happened? I don't want to type a message. Are you guys on Facebook? Can you write me a message? I want to see if something's working. Someone try to write me a message. I already write this. Thank you, sincere servant. Thank you so much. Cannot, huh? My opinion on fasting and CFCs? Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Here we go. No, absolutely. Fasting. We've got to, it's, yeah, there's, whether you do short term or long term, you can eliminate CFCs. But you got to really know what you're doing. Yeah, well, here we go. Okay, so I'm here. I don't know if this is earlier. What is it? 8:32? What time is it now? Oh, yeah, so good. Oh, everybody's here. Okay, cool. I guess. Yay, we're here. Okay, cool. So okay. So Marisol, because your language made me think that you never didn't know was that because you don't know you don't want to be battling. You don't want to be battling anything. You don't want to go to war. You don't want to do anything poisonous to your body to kill them because them are you, him. These are your cells responding to something. You don't get to kill them. You got to make sure they don't need to do that. They will stop doing that, right? And wait, how long to fast parasites out? You don't. That's you can't. You really can't do it that way. You'd have to do multiple long fasts, and then you'd have to also be, be certain that you're not getting exposed to more. So you really have to restore function of and try to restore the gut biome and all that. It's really almost impossible to do it that way because we are going to have a certain amount of parasites. And they're not like, it's not like you ever eliminate them. You just make them no longer able to increase in number to any point yet. Are implants toxic if you have a mastectomy? Yeah, that's what always blew my mind. I mean, silicone is, remember silicone? We talked about it last week. Carbon, silicone uh, can really mess up the immune system, cause problems. So, but I don't know if maybe they're not doing that with when they give you the implants. Are they giving you are they silicone implants? I don't think there's anything else now. Man. There's nothing else we could. So yeah. So someone, I'll get to the question. Someone's asking, did I mention that if the primary tumor removed, the other will grow and spread? Yes, because what happens is that when the primary tumor is growing, it needs new blood vessels. So it's stimulating something called VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor. It's also producing these other cytokines that are like preventing the other little microscopic islands that are all over the place from growing blood vessels. And if they don't grow blood vessels, the tumor can't grow. The tumor can't expand by 1 millimeter without new blood vessels. So by shutting off, so when you go in and you biopsy or remove it, you've just broken that inhibition, and now they'll grow blood vessels. Plus, it increases the dissemination too. They spread and they see. And so so if you have to do surgery, you have to do it, but you kind of plan it out and you do take a few things like Pectisol. Marisol, I hope I answered the question. I hope you understand. I hope you've been around. Okay, because you wouldn't use that language. You're not battling it. Then you got to get off that mindset. Listen, you know who came up? You know why they were battling it? Well, it wasn't his idea. He was just following instructions. But Richard Milhouse Nixon, 1971, America declared war on CFCs. So you understand that mentality. First of all, it's an absurd thing to say. It's like the war on terror. So it's absurd. You can't. But that's where we are. We're in this military thing. So we got to get away from the military thing. Get away from the military thing and understand the mechanism by which things occur, and you just make them not necessary. That's it. It's really that simple. Okay. So now, how to take this is Diana. How to take tinidazole if I have a sensitive stomach? How many days per month and how much? If you're having problems with tinidazole, you can't find something else. Try well, the cousin of right, black. Uh, Are we back on yet? Are we back on, you guys? I can't believe they keep. You guys are like amazing. You're still here after all these things, and you have to deal with me, and then all. It's amazing. You're still here. Anyway, tinidazole. So alinea, right? Nitazoxanide is it also will take care of many of the situations that tinidazole. If you just get, in other words, if you have a sensitivity and you can't take it, don't force it, because you have to take it like. A minimum of 2 to 3 times a day. 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off for like 8, 10, 11, 12 cycles. So you can't, you got to get, it can't be causing you problems. So switch over to a nitazoxanide. I don't know if you've tried metronidazole. If you have, but if you had a problem with tinidazole, you'd have a problem with metronidazole. Okay, now, this is Solomon, and it says, thrombocythemia. Is this disorder amenable to metabolic intervention? I'm being offered immunotherapy, low-dose interferon. Currently, I'm practicing a carnivore diet, intermittent fasting, and fasting among other measures, which are very effective at controlling the nasty symptoms. Essential thrombocythemia, diagnosed date 2024, molecular JAK2. Okay, so you've got all these genetic molecular findings. No abnormal clone myeloid gene panel. On July 15th, bone marrow aspirate. Okay, and they found JAK2 only, 5% bone marrow. All right, so they gave you all these all these genetic stuff. Okay, so here's the thing, Solomon. I want you to, I mean, good work. You're like keeping up on it. You're keeping up on it, but unfortunately, you're keeping up on their story of what's going on. And actually, have you asked them what's going on? If you do, you're going to find out that the only thing they can say is, we're not sure. Wait a minute, you're not sure, and then you're going to fix it? Whatever you're going to give me is going to fix what you're not sure is? But they're not sure what it is. Ask them what it is. Hey, how did I get this? What is it? I don't know. They don't know. You're right? They don't know. So. Okay, so anyway, when they use the word essential, so if they say essential thrombocythemia, means they don't know the cause. That's what he said. Like essential hypertension means we don't know the cause. And most people with hypertension, they don't know the cause. I know, but so now there is a syndrome. You might have heard of the myelodysplastic syndrome. So myelodysplastic syndromes are they affect bone marrow progenitors, right? And bone marrow progenitors means cells that can become other cells. Are the platelets, which are the thrombocytes, the white blood cells, and the red blood cells. Those are the 3 lines in there. And so with myelodysplastic, you can have any of those. All right. So, in other words, you could have your platelets really high, you could have them really low, you could have the white cells really high, really low. So anyway, those myelodysplastic situation can evolve, turn into what is known as leukemias. But nevertheless, your spleen gets enlarged because it's trying to clean up all this stuff, and people sometimes have to get their spleen removed. It can be a problem. So, but I got to tell you, there's no genetics. Now that they have the genome, they've delineated the human genome. It's like a toy. Let's find the genetics on it. The genetics are a reflection of what the cell has decided to do to adapt. So that the cell says to the nucleus, I need this, I need that, and I got turn off this and all that. So it's not the cause, and they go in there as if it's the cause. They talk about it as if it's the cause. It's just not the cause. Okay, the cause is the same cause in all of that. The body is doing what it's doing in your bone marrow there. So what are you having? What is your fix? Do you get JAK2 mutated myeloproliferative neoplasm favoring essential thrombocytes? Okay. Your spleen's 10 centimeters. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm just telling you, all of those words are leading you into this, Solomon, are leading you into this quagmire that you can't get out of. None of that stuff matters. That's like these are responses to, or these are the mechanisms that had to be turned on in order for this occurrence to manifest. Understand, we're talking about CFCs. Now, you're saying you have no excess blasts on the bone marrow. Well, okay, so it's not quite yet then what they classify as leukemia. So, like all myelodysplastic is considered a pre-leukemic. I don't know why they're calling it essential, because I don't know your other blood work. I don't really know what's happening. So a lot of times people have thrombocytosis, and they wind up getting like their platelets can get up to 900, a million, and then they start having mini strokes, TIA, transient ischemic attacks. Yeah, it could be pretty devastating. I'm assuming you've had some problems. But the cytogenetic is the word the genetics are there to support the process. They don't cause it. And all of those scores, all that stuff, in the end, it doesn't help them. And in the end, they don't know what they're doing. Ask the guy, go talk to your favorite doctor and say, hey, listen, we know that I have essential thrombocyte, but how did I get it? What caused it? We're not really sure. And then ask them, say, well, listen, if you're not sure what caused it, how can you stop it? Just to ask them. But we know that all of this stuff happens because of cumulative toxins. We got to get rid of them, and you've got to make sure that you have no root canals. You have no, there's no place where you took out teeth. You had your teeth extracted, right? If there are, then above it you have a cavitation by now. Okay, so you've got to go to a biological dentist who knows their stuff. Okay, and you've got to get a 3D cone beam, CT, and have them read it and find out what's going on in your mouth. Get that cleared up. Okay, then do some powerful cleanses. Go on an 8-week juice cleanse. Don't eat, just 8 weeks of juice. Get your colon cleaned out. Get lymphatic therapists, certified lymphatic therapists. Get lymphatic work, not just the manual, but also electrolymphatic wands, glass wands, and move around all day, and not like me, and go to sleep early, eat only human food, and stop eating 5-6 hours before you go to sleep, and learn to not think. No oxymoron. Learn to not think. Okay, just stop thinking. Turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream. It's not dying, it's being. You all know that song. I think it's Tomorrow Never Knows by the Beatles. That was written by John Lennon. Anyway, sounds like George Harrison. So I'm afraid, and I listen, Solomon. I just know you're in there, like you're saying. Wait a minute, man. This stuff is real. I mean, Jack, they found. Look at this. It might be really there, but it's irrelevant. It's not what's going on. It's not causing it. I can promise you that. Wait, think about it. Let's say a particular, it's not a mutation because they can be reversed. So that's not a mutation. You don't reverse Down syndrome. Think about it. If let's say this particular condition is associated with specific mutations, how come like so many people over as long as they've been looking at this 100 years to it have been getting this same mutation? Where do they get to see it? They weren't born with it, so they're getting it in their life. So they get that mutation that hasn't been, and so with breasts they get this mutation, right? And then that happens. It's not. So how did they all get the same mutation? Is it a standard? I mean, how does that work? It doesn't work. It doesn't work. The whole theory is just leads you down a path of fear, because if you the more you look into it with this kind of perspective, the more you'll understand. I don't know what's happening. Nobody knows because it's not what's happening. So don't get lost in there. It's just words and symbols that have no relevance to reality. I mean, it's just. And when you get better, you'll see them come down. You go and resolve because they're no longer necessary. It's not that they cause the resolution. So, anyway, is this amenable to metabolic information intervention? Absolutely, because we are yeah, right. Because what's the alternative to metabolic? Cytotoxic. There's cytotoxic or there's metabolic. Cytotoxic means you're going to poison something, and you know, in your heart of hearts, Solomon, that poison cannot make a sick person well. A sick person healthy. Poison does not produce health. Cannot. By definition, it cannot. The idea that we even consider such a thing. So what I know, I use poisons at times to accomplish something specific. I know it's not going to restore health. That will get us to a point where we can get back on that pathway. All right. So it's necessary to shrink things down and stuff like that. Okay. That's what it is. All right. Now, I just want to go on with that. Beyond that, you got to do all the cleansing. You got to do that, but absolutely metabolically. Vitamin C. I mean, 100%. I've done it 100% with myelodysplastic. I've had thrombocytosis, thrombopenia. Yes, it works. You got to do things we talk about. Okay. Okay, so Cheyenne is asking about parasites. How do we find the right dosage for our size? Well, you can look at the drug. The drug. Look it up, and it'll say you put dosage, and they usually say this much per kilo. But they don't know. We don't know how much, because they're pretty safe drugs. We know that, for example, when they use one of all really high. So the right dosage is really hard to determine. And I think it's by the situation, by the case, right? And the other one is your liver function. If your liver function is already a little bit impaired when you start, then you've got to have lower dosages and or frequency, right? But the average dose is like 12 of like ivermectin, 12 milligrams 3 times a day, fenbendazole 222 milligrams 3 times a day, mebendazole 500 milligrams 3 times a day, and niclosamide 500 milligrams 3 times a day, praziquantel 600 milligrams 3 times a day. It's got standard, but and if you're using all of them, yeah, you keep using them. So Cheyenne, you want to make sure you're getting not just one, one, not just one, what do you call it? One anti-helminthic or, one anti-protozoal. You want to get them all. You want at least 3 anti-worms, anti-helminthics. So the ones I suggest and use, ivermectin, mebendazole, niclosamide. Pretty magical trio there. Then you can add in nitazoxanide and or tinidazole. And then for your week off, flucloxazole. That's a good plan. Okay, so now, where are we here? Okay, so it says here, this is Amanda. Dr. Lodi, when pathology tries to draw blood for blood tests, they can't remove any. My blood is so thick, it's been like this for a year. I follow your dietary recommendations. I have been eating raw vegan, plant-based for years. It is my veins, or can be fixed. Okay, so it sounds dehydrated, but if you're eating raw vegan, so things that are raw, uncooked, that means they haven't lost their water content, so they should be. And then you're drinking juices. You're well hydrated, right? If you're well hydrated and you eat raw vegan, you can't. Then there's something wrong with the person trying to withdraw your blood. If you're well hydrated, drinking green juices, it can't be that way. So what I'm thinking is, your blood's thick. Thick means it needs more fluid. You need to dilute it. Like if you had a thick stew, you pour in more water and it gets unthick. So you need to dilute it. So dilute it with what? Water, juice, stuff like that. That's what it would be, thick, if it's thick. And if it's dark, this just means it's not moving around that much. It's not getting oxygenated, and which happens. So you got to get well hydrated. You got to keep your bowels moving. You got to keep yourself energetic, moving around. And moving is going to get your circulation. All that works. Balancing your autonomic nervous system so that your all the tissue beds are perfused equally, or appropriately. And so you can do that with there's a machine called a Beamer, BEMER, and there's also one called Cloud, KLOUD, and they get open up. Excuse me. The microcirculation, which allows you to have increased flow to the tissues. So, yeah, and are you? I don't know. I would ask you: are you moving around? Do you get around? You got to be doing that at least every 90 minutes. You get up for 10, 15 minutes and just go for it. You do jumping ropes, a jump rope, or jumping jacks, or push-ups against the wall. You don't have to do anything that you can't do and disappoint yourself. Don't do anything like that. But just do that, and do push-ups, and get some. You pick up something. You can even get those little weights, like small weights, depending on your size. Anywhere from I think a quarter of a kilo or a quarter of a pound, whatever, and small and bigger and bigger and bigger. And you just move all different muscle groups, right? Pick up like that, pick up from the bottom, bend over and pick up like this, right? And then over your head. Just not to get big, but just to get movement, strength, and blood flow and stuff like that. You want to get good, toned muscle, not enlarged, not hypertrophy. So, um, now, where was that one I just saw? On this one here. This is anyway. The question was this. The question is, where is it? I'm not seeing it now. But the question was, what do I think of eating right for your blood type? And D'Amato, the guy that came up with it. What do I think about that? I think it's uh, first of all, it can't possibly be true, and secondly, it's not true. And anyway, humans have about 33 different blood groups, right? There's different systems. The one system that it's referring to is the ABO system. So they have AB, and O, and the O can be positive and negative. So. But then that's one system. The other system is rhesus, right? Rh negative, Ro negative, R negative, R positive. Then there's an MNS antigen system. There's a Lutheran system. There's the Kell system, Duffy system. There's 33 different systems. So he picked out one. Now, the one that we have, which is A, B, AB, and O. You know who else has that exact stuff? Gorillas, chimps, bonobos, just like us. Right? Now, however, most chimps are A. A little bit, some O. And gorillas are like almost exclusively B. Isn't that weird? Because, A is supposed to be vegetarian, right? On the blood type group, right? And B is supposed to be animals, eating animals, which means the gorilla should be eating animals. And they're like complete vegan, and they're powerful. So they don't do it. So it doesn't apply to them, but it applies to us somehow. Okay. Now, so they have the same size in terms of the ABO. Now, and that guy came up with all that, D'Amato. He's got to hand it to me. He made a lot of money. Threw people way off. Now, what I want you to consider is that because we always need to look at ourselves in context of being creatures on the planet here, right? So we look at other creatures. So dogs have 8 blood types. But dogs seem to eat the same stuff wherever they are. Are they eating right for their blood type? I don't think so. Or maybe they are. Okay, now, horses. Well, even though dogs have 8, they recognize 6, but they have. Horses have 8 too. All right. But I want to tell you something. They have 8 main groups, but it can result. They can get 400,000 combinations. It's very crazy. All right, and all horses. One horse shouldn't eat. I don't know. One horse should only eat root vegetables, and the other one should eat the vegetables that grow above the soil. Or this horse should eat aquatic vegetables. That's not the case. Same with zebras. Zebras, and they're the same family. They have a lot, right? And then you get to. It's funny they haven't really determined on elephant, but cattle like cows and buffalo and things like that. They have 11 11 blood groups. Cats have 3. But my point is this: it has nothing to do with this. I don't know how he came up with it. And by the way, someone can say, I just feel better when I go on that. I'm sure whatever that diet is you feel better. Oh, who was I talking to? Who earlier? I wanted to talk to you. Oh, what was the guy? Let's get back to you. Yes, Solomon. Okay, Solomon. Solomon, I hope you're still there. Are you there, Solomon? How do I know? Solomon. Anyway, watch it again tomorrow. Somebody tell Solomon to watch this. Okay, Solomon, I'm gonna have to. Now, not knowing you, I don't know you, and I guess it is presumptive for me to say that you're not on a carnivore diet. I know you think you are because that's the word that you were told, but have you ever studied what carnivores eat? If you study what carnivores eat, you'll find out that in the wild, they will not eat a dead animal. They only eat live animals. That's it. They will not eat a dead animal. Now, when we take them and put them in cages like lions and stuff like that, and we throw a big zebra leg in there, they got no choice. But if they're out there, they're not going to eat them. They're going to kill them. In fact, when they first started to make zoos, I don't know when that was, 1700s or something. So they had lions in there, and that's what they were feeding them, like zebra corpses and whatever. I don't know, wildebeest, whatever they fed them. Like if they throw in a big leg or they throw in a torso, whatever. And they were alive, they were doing fine, but they were not reproducing. So within a few years, the zoos got a little bit dirty, and rats came around. So lions started to catch and eat the rats alive. And wouldn't you know it, they started to reproduce. Now our cats adjusted or whatever. We feed them a dry used to be food, and they're still reproducing. But anyway, I just want you to understand, you're not on a carnivore diet because I don't think you pick up chickens, rip their head off, and eat them. No, you eat animal corpses. So if you're eating animal corpses, you're not a carnivore. It's a scavenger. A dog is a scavenger. A raccoon is a scavenger. A rat is a scavenger. They all have snouts. They all have snouts. Their jaws only move vertically. Their teeth are sharp. Their tongues are thin, long. So that would be the family. You're not really in that family either, because it's, so we actually, human beings are omnivores by perversion, not by design. We weren't designed this way, but hey, whatever. We'll eat anything. And in fact, you can't get a horse to eat dog food. You can't get a dog to eat horse food. You can't. They're all creatures are going to do except us. We'll eat anything. I mean, from monkey brain to bull testicles to insects, and so we'll eat anything, including cockroaches. Um, um, so we'll eat anything a cockroach would eat. Plus, we'll eat the cockroach. It's a bit why, because we don't even know what we're supposed to eat. That's a webinar coming up. What is food? Let's get this straight for a minute, forever. So we don't know what food is. So anything's food, right? I can't digest it, but it's food. No, let's define food. Anyway, so you're not a carnivore. You eat corpses. You're a corpse eater, and that's you need to decide whether or not you think that's a good. Wow, how often is this going to happen today? We're getting disconnected all the time. Anyway, you're not a it's a corpse diet, and it's okay. But I just be aware of that fact. It's a corpse diet, and then you have to look at it and see, is that in my best interest? I'm not saying not do it. I'm just saying find out if that's really in the best interest. Because my assumption here, by being on eating that, and what was the other thing? Intermittent fasting. Okay, intermittent fasting. Okay, remember something. Fasting is 24 hours. That's a fast. If you eat once a day, that's healthy eating. It's not intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting isn't eating lunch and dinner. Intermittent fasting is not eating on Tuesdays or Sundays and Mondays or every third Friday, whatever. There's intermittent fasting, but the fast is 24 hours, so that's not. So you're real. Their terms have got you all the way, Solomon. You've got to get rid of their words. I promise you. Otherwise, you're going to be miserable. You're going to be miserable. And they're very effective. Yeah, yeah. Well, eating once a day is healthy. It's not that they are effective in getting rid of. You're eating healthfully. Your style of eating. I mean, your frequency. However, eating corpses is not what you were designed for, and you'll find that out. You'll find that out. What stimulates the immune system? Is there any part of eating an animal that stimulates the immune system? Is there any part of eating an animal that improves our estrogen and testosterone digestion? Is there any part of eating an animal that stimulates the immune? No. Where do you get that from? Plants. Anyway, I just wanted to clear that up. Sorry. Now let's get back to the next step. The next one was going to be this from Renee. She said, Graves, can you give guidance to find out the root cause and how to treat Graves switching to Hashimoto's with recent pretty severe gut issues, maybe gastritis, gallbladder, and ulcer? Not sure which, since I am avoiding doctors and trying to self-treat. Beautiful. Avoid doctors. If you want to live, stay. Yeah. So anyway, let's clear that up. Okay, Graves' disease is hyperthyroid. The thyroid's working really quick, too much. It's working too much, and you're like that, right? And now they find that the blood has some antibodies, right? So they now, because the antibodies are in the blood and you're hyperthyroid, then they're going to say this is Graves. Okay, that's what makes it, right? And actually, it's just it's this thyrotropin antibody, receptor antibody, which basically mimics, as if it's the receptors think that it's TSH, which stimulates the thyroid. So your thyroid's going so that's what they say. Okay, that's what's causing it. Now, Hashimoto's, on the other hand, is uh, a less functioning thyroid, and it is associated with some antibodies, right? So it's got the anti-peroxidase and the anti-thyroglobulin antibodies. And so their conclusion is that both of these are what they call autoimmune. Autoimmune means that the immune system has made a mistake and it's attacking itself, attacking the body. Right? So that's what they say. All right. And it's not true. It can't be. How can the immune system make a mistake and attack the body? So, anyway, Renee, we're going to talk about the root cause. Okay. Fundamentally, the root cause to hyper and hypo is iodine deficiency. Okay. Because the reason we have a thyroid gland is to produce thyroid hormones that carry iodide. To deliver it. And it has multiple things that it does. Turns on genes for growth, speeds up metabolism. The end result is that it speeds up metabolism and energy production. And so the best way you can find out if your thyroid is functioning is to take your axillary, your armpit temperatures 5-minute mornings in a row before you get out of bed to go to the bathroom, because by walking, your muscles are going to generate heat. You don't want to change it. You want to get your basal body temperature. And you take the average over 5 days, and if you're less than 97.8 or less than 30 Fahrenheit or less than 36.8 Celsius, then you are hypothyroid. Okay. Now, but that means why is it due? Why is that? It's an iodine deficiency. What's going on with Graves? It's an iodine deficiency. So you got to replace the iodine. The problem is if you have Hashimoto's and you give iodine, it's going to decrease the thyroid output. So while you're doing it, while you're replenishing the iodine, which you have to do, otherwise you're going to have this forever, you'll be taking a natural thyroid, like Thyrovance. You can get online from New Zealand. Thyrovance, Thyrovanz. It's a natural thyroid. Anyway, so you'll take that, and then you'll take one, and you do it for 2 weeks, and then you check again. If you're still low, you got to take a second one. Work your way up, because the blood test won't show. Because remember, the iodines can be substituted by chlorides and fluorides and bromides, which is likely because we all have iodine deficiency. So we don't know what that. But if you don't have the iodine on there, you've got 2 chlorides and a bromide, and 1 iodine. It's not going to be. It's just not going to function. Okay. Now, the thing about I'll give you a real example. I had a woman from Chiang Rai, northern Thailand, who had she came in and she didn't know what was wrong. She was really nervous and all that. And I did her ankle reflex, and classic, hyper reflexive ankle ten. You tap on the tendon and the foot goes like that. Normally it goes. It's slow, but hers is fast. The Achilles tendon. Anyway, that and all that. So she was through the roof, thyroid T4, T3, and then I was obligated to draw some antibodies, and lo and behold, they were elevated too. So she had to get the diagnosis of Graves. So now she was all, her heart was beating and all that. So normally what they will give people is a beta blocker to control the symptoms, right? A beta blocker is going to slow down the heart rate. And meanwhile, they start on some sort of poison, which usually takes about 2, 3, 7 days to kick in. And once it's poisoned enough of the thyroid, then the symptoms start to go away, and they can stop taking the beta blocker. But what I did was I just gave her iodine, Lugol's, or was it Lugol's or iodoral? Doesn't matter, they're the same. Because I wanted the iodine suppressing effect. So I gave her 100 milligrams 3 times a day, 4 times. Within 24 hours, no symptoms. And we drew the blood, and her T4 and T3 were normal. Her antibodies were still through the roof. But I didn't care. Why didn't I care? Because that was only allowing, that's not the cause. So we went up and down with the iodine for if she was taking too much, we would know. If she's taking too little, so we would adjust it. But she got down to, I think near the end there, she got down to about 50 milligrams. Finally got down to 50 milligrams twice a day, which if you and I took would really suppress our thyroid a lot. And she got down to normal. And then, but all for 3-4 years, the antibodies were high. But remember, they're not doing it. And then suddenly they came down. And suddenly we were able to get her down to just a maintenance dose of iodine. To this day, it's been at least since she stopped taking since her antibodies came down. It's been like 5 years. So yeah, and of course we know that, and what does iodine do? Think about it. So we also know that it changes the microflora, right? Iodine taking the Why do we know that? Because iodine is an antimicrobial, right? You put iodine in your in pond water and drink it, right? We used to paint iodine on a cut, all right? So what we have to realize is that there's a microbiota, well, microbiome, microbiota, gut, thyroid axis, okay? Yeah. And so iodine deficiency can impair thyroid hormone production, leading to hypothyroidism, right? So that's what. So if you take iodine, that might make it worse, and it does. I mean, you pushing out less because it's going to suppress it. So therefore, you supplement it with the natural hormone while you are, because you can take it at least a year and a half to get the iodine in. All right, and then now they're also saying that some autoimmune excessive iodine intake may trigger an autoimmune disease, as if it's there, it just needs to be triggered. It is there. There's no it and where's there. Okay, now wait a minute. Let's put together what they're saying. They're saying, okay, it changes the microbiome. Uh, the iodine. So by replacing it, we're going to change the microbiome. But if the iodine was low, and it could have triggered an autoimmune, and the iodine affects your bacteria. So is there a connection between the microbiome and what they're calling autoimmune? Yeah, that's it. But don't tell them. Let them go on playing their word game. So what have they found? People that have Graves have a decrease in intestinal microbial um, uh, diversity. They're not as diverse. There's less species, and they all have particularly less, right? So significantly reduced. All right. Uh, now guess what else? I mean, I guess you could probably guess this one. Um, what can initiate Hashimoto's? Yep, you got it. A significantly reduced diversity of the microbiome. Hmm. Specifically, what's being reduced are the ones that we like, the lactobacillus and the bifidobacter and those, right? And what's increased are the kind of guys we don't like. So we got an imbalance. It's called a dysbiosis. Still there, but they're in the wrong ratio. And then we notice that people also that have leaky gut. Oh my God, what is that? That just means that type, because we're eating so uh, unnatural. Volume, frequency, and whatever it is we're calling food. You put those together, and you're gonna get a over distended, broken, leaky gut, which means you're going to absorb things that are too big that shouldn't have been absorbed, which is going to stimulate immune response and all that. So that can also help to trigger the immune response. Now, interesting. What we're finding is that uh, we have what are called commensal bacteria. And remember, we said a relationship with a microorganism could be that it's mutualism, they're benefiting, we're benefiting. Commensalism, they're benefiting, we're not. Or parasitism, they're benefiting and we're being harmed. Well, the commensals, I don't know why they classify them as commensals, because if they're doing something for us, they're not commensal. But they do. I don't. But listen, that's their job, is to classify and come up with new words. So anyway, they're saying that Hello, hello. We're back on. I'm sorry. I don't know. So we're okay. So they're saying that the role of the commensals, in other words, if they start to get, the commensals are the ones that are normally inhabit there in a healthy situation. If they go down, that can stimulate an inflammatory response. And you can have type 1 diabetes, which is where your pancreas doesn't make insulin. It's different than insulin resistance. You can have rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease, and multiple sclerosis, which is an autoimmune disease. In other words, the microbiome turns out to be more than essential. Okay, so great. Now, this is very interesting too. Very interesting. Now, the normally the hypothalamus, which is in the lower part of the brain, sends a signal to the pituitary gland, right? It sends releasing factors, and then the pituitary gland controls the thyroid, controls the adrenals, controls the ovaries, the testes. That's it. So the thing that is stimulated from the thing is produced by the pituitary to stimulate the thyroid is called TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. Yeah. Now, thyroid stimulating hormone, which is released by the pituitary, that's how the thyroid gets turned on. So if that's really low, then that means the thyroid's working. It doesn't need to go high. But if you got a lot of TSH, you're gonna have you're gonna have low. It's gonna right. So so TSH usually goes in the opposite. So if you're hyperthyroid, your TSH is going to be low because you're not able to control it. If you're hypothyroid, your TSH is going to be high because it's trying to stimulate it and it can't. Okay. Guess what? The TSH is a molecule. It's called a heterodimer. So it's got an alpha chain and a B chain, just like insulin. Alpha chain and the B chain. The alpha chain, it shares with some other hormones like luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, and chorionic gonadotropin. What? Okay, yes. What is luteinizing hormone? LH. And what is follicular stimulating hormone? They'll have to do with reproduction. Follicular makes the egg grow, and the sperm, and LH makes the sperm grow, makes the egg mature. So it has to do with LH and FSH. So we want to know if you're in menopause. We draw an FSH and LH level, and if they're really high because they're trying to not get those ovaries to work and they're not working, so they're going to have really high. So we know you're in menopause. But if they're not real high, if they're down in this range here, then you're not. So anyway, LH and FSH are reproductive hormones, right? By the way, that's what they can leave you Lupron. They're knocking that out. That's what they knock out. No more LH, no more FSH, so you're over. It's done. Okay, so LH and FSH and chorionic gonadotropin. What? HCG. That's when do we produce that? That's what the placenta produces when you are pregnant. And anyway, so here's the interesting thing. That's the alpha chain. It's the beta chain that actually has the effect on the thyroid. Again, then the beta chain of the TSH stimulates the thyroid to make T4 and T3. Okay. Well, guess what? It turns out that not only the pituitary makes the TSH, but they found out that T cells, B cells, dendritic cells, and all kinds of bone marrow derived, they call hematopoietic cells, are producing TSH. So lymphocytes, intestinal epithelial cells. What? So in other words, we now know that TSH is also produced by this subpopulation of bone marrow derived cells, right? And uh, so they're calling it the hematopoietic thyroid connection. So the immune system is participating in the thyroid, and the thyroid is participating in the hormone. So that's the, what you call the neuroendocrine system, because the immune system is, comes from is stimulated by the brain, uh, and then the endocrine is the hormone. That's part of it. So, and remember, the other one are some of the secondary lymph tissues, like we have lymph nodes in our gut, and we've got these things that are called uh, gut-associated lymphatic tissue. We've got Peyer's patches. We've got spleen. They can all produce TSH also. Whoa! It turns out that TSH has a cytokine regulatory molecule within the immune system. So TSH can influence lymphocyte functional behavior. It's been shown, like in other words, if they give an animal like an injection with like a staphylococcus or something like that, or they take the polysaccharide from it, but or whatever, they challenge it. They find that it starts increasing TSH production as well as whatever else is. Not only TSH, not only that, but uh, so that's being produced. You can do it by causing, challenging the immune system. So it has to come where, like, you introduce an organism that's not going to be in their best interest. It will start to, you get these white blood cells, which will start producing TSH, because TSH will then in turn stimulate other things. Now, what does TSH do? Well, it is it, it'll actually stimulate the plasma cells to increase antibodies. All right, and it turns out that it stimulates the dendritic cells it activates them, makes them stronger phagocytic cells, like eating. Right, it increases cytokine production, of interleukin 1 beta and IL-12, right, which means it's going to enhance the ability to eat and conquer, right? So the thyroid, turns out, is modified. It's part of it. We shouldn't have to call it. So that's why we were saying earlier, there's no systems, because that was the endocrine system, but now we have the immune system. So it's really a thyroimmunity. Thyroimmunity. It turns out that the thyroid is essential to, as you can see, essential to immunity. So when we work with you, the first thing we're going to do after cleaning, even while cleaning out all that, we got to get your thyroid right. That's why we got to balance it. We got to get you up to being euthyroid. We got to have enough thyroid. Now, there's something called the euthyroid 6 syndrome, um, which means that you've got a low T3. T3 is the active thyroid, because of the failure to convert it from a T4 to a T3 in our liver or kidneys, right? And in severe forms, it won't even be as T4. But it's not due to some intrinsic part of the thyroid gland. It's been noticed to coexist with people in sepsis, people that have had trauma, heart attacks, and fasting, infections, and fasting. Fasting do it too. Which means all that means in fasting is that you have a lower thyroid output because you don't need it. In fasting, you don't need it, and you rest and you heal. But when you get that from trauma and myocardial infarction and stuff like that, heart attacks, then you do need to take care of this. You got to have to, for a while, you're going to have to take supplements, right? But the thing that's important is the incredible relationship between thyroid. So if your thyroid is functioning, now your immune system has a chance. But if your thyroid is not up to normal, if you say, well, I'll take care of that later, but then you can't take care of it later. You could, but you shouldn't. Take care of it now. Get that thyroid, euthyroid, in other words. EU is means healthy, normal. Well, normal's not healthy, but healthy. EU. Uh, uh, like that group called the Eurythmics probably meant, I guess they were trying to say that they had really healthy rhythm. You've got to be euthyroid to have a good immune system, period. So getting back to the Graves, I hope you see the connection between Graves, Hashimoto's, and all this stuff. Iodine, 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 iodine. So we take 25 milligrams a day until we get enough in, which is about a year and a half. We know that because body temperatures. We want mostly the iodine, which is the I2, because that's going to help us in so many other ways. Actually kill CFC. Many. The iodide is for the thyroid. We need that too. And then, and while you're replenishing it, you're going to have to take a natural hormone, thyroid, to keep your body, because otherwise the iodine will even have less circulating thyroid. So you're going to take the natural thyroid. Also, when you finally get to the point where it's been a year and a half, you can test it. You say, okay, I'm going to start. I was taking the thyroid twice a day. I'm going to take it once a day, about a week. Give me a week, 2 weeks, and then I'll measure again. Oh, okay. I'm still normal. All right. Well, anyway, you'll find that you can actually go off it. You can wean off it, and you can still keep it normal. Because what's happened? You have now there's enough iodine in your body that when your thyroid goes to make thyroid hormone, it's got plenty of iodine around. But you still need to take it. So now you go from 25 milligrams a day to a maintenance, which is 12.5 milligrams a day. Unless you start eating a lot of seaweed, then you don't have wakame and kombu are the main ones in Japan. So TSH is also a cytokine. I mean, it stimulates the immune system directly. So they're really you can't separate it. There's no separating them. Okay, so please keep that in mind, and keep that in mind with everything we're talking about. Everything we ever talk about, it's restoring balance. We're never going to figure it out. We know. Listen. So you tell me, where does the thyroid does that? Well, what else does it do? Well, but that's the pituitary. The TSH has an effect on the thyroid gland and has an effect on the immune system. The TSH, and the TSH, one of its side chains is the same as which has luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, which has to do with reproduction, human chorionic. So you understand that the complexity and we're always discovering things, and with each discovery, you only get more and more aware that God, how is that? How? So it leaves you in awe, and that's it. Awesome. It's awesome. That's the only time you can use the word awesome, when something is awesome. And the handiwork, the divine work of God is truly awesome. And that's what we are too, right? So keep that in mind. So don't ever think this body is, metabolic means as natural as possible. Restore metabolic uh, uh, integrity, restore metabolic balance. And yeah, it'll work because it was crafted by the Holy of Holies. So, yeah. So that's it, guys. So, hey, I don't know what to say, but we're all stuck in this technology, and I can't control it. Like this thing went offline. What? How many times? All I see is we went offline. We're redoing. Oh, thanks. So, I don't know if I got enough questions answered today. I feel like I did because we lost so much time. What time is it? 9:37. Oh my God. All right. Well, you guys are fantastic. You're up. Oh, it's still up. Did you mention that? Okay. Let me just see. Maybe take a couple here. Are you in your membership portal? Huh? Oh, talking to someone. Yeah, sadly, implants are toxic. I don't know why we can't come up with something else. Kefir is a good probiotic. Yeah, and you can make kefir the nut from dairy. You don't have to use dairy. You can make kefir with coconut milk. You can make kefir with other things. You don't need that. Yes, they do saline implants. Okay, thank you. Oh, I'm getting all these stuff. Uh, yeah, go see Dr. Emma. Yay. All right. Yeah. Wow. Okay, you guys are doing it. See, that's the idea. Good morning, Davey. Okay. Yeah. So that's the thing. What I want to do is form a you guys get a group. Let's rely on each other. All right. Let's all learn to trust each other, rely on each other. Let's become resources. Let's share what we know. Let's find way to get where to get what and all that. That's what we get. That's the way to do it. And because you guys are all asking like the right questions, right? You're asking questions and good questions. And these guys that you're going to see, you're paying them to go see them, are not asking you questions. So things that you're asking, they didn't even know was well, why would you want to know that? Well, all right, I guess we're offset. Okay. All right. So, yeah. Anyway, I know I would do I have one more. Oh, okay. Here, let me. This is Leslie. I would like to know if you found ways to help people with ALS, and you all may know amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, which is also called Lou Gehrig's disease, and it's pretty much concluded that it's 100% fatal. It's a slowly, and it doesn't even start. The person is not even aware of it until later in life, like maybe late 30s or 40s, and it's or even older, and it's slowly progressive. It's slowly the loss of motor function, and they finally wind up in a wheelchair, and then they finally wind up having to get intubated because they lose muscle movement. And when you lose the muscle of the muscles required to breathe, so they put a tracheotomy in there, make it easier, and they finally go. It's really terrible thing. Now, that being said, there is no ALS, there is no Parkinson's, there is no Alzheimer's, there is no uh, ADD. Uh, these are names that have been put on to label clusters of the symptoms that seem to that occur together. So they call it a syndrome, or they'll call it a disease. Difference between a syndrome and a disease? Anyway, uh, there's no yet. Okay, now just to give you a couple of examples, there was a woman in New York. She was a CPA, and she came to me after she had gotten a flu shot, and it made her talking like this. She couldn't talk and all that stuff. But it didn't last long. It lasted about a month or two. And she knew that it happened right after her flu shot. So the next year she got a flu shot. And this time it wouldn't go away. So she came to me. And she was, she could hardly walk and all that. So, and now she went to Mount Sinai. She went to Lenox Hill. She went to Albert Einstein in the Bronx. She went to all the in New York Hospital and all the big hospitals. And some would say, it's an MS or it's a multiple sclerosis or it's in other words they couldn't so it was an injection induced flu shot induced immune response that had a great effect on the nervous system. That's what happened. And it resembled and was just like what they would call ALS. Then Dr. Simon Yu had a person who was brought to him already in a wheelchair, already with a trach, could hardly hold his head up. Now, no one on planet Earth has ever come out of that. So Dr. Yu did the acupuncture meridian. He figured out parasites that he had and all that, treated him. And the guy was up dancing. So here's what I'm communicating to you, is that what we call ALS and what we call MS, we have to remember that I really mean it when I say there's no it. There's no it. This is an adaptive or consequence of. It's an adaptive response or consequence of multiple potential scenarios. Right. Like chronically fermenting, it's kind of like one of the last final pathways that a cell can do to adapt. So other cells are going and they wind up having extreme ischemia, like heart attacks and stuff. So there's different manifestations of this toxicity. But a chronically fermented cells is like one of the pathways. So neurologically, these neurodegenerative situations, and that's also the same thing. So there is no, I know that it's hereditary. Lou Gehrig's is hereditary. But, and there's definitely a genetic component with that particular condition. But not everybody with that condition got there through genetics. And there's no that condition. It fluctuates. It's kind of like the person last was saying that they fluctuate between Graves and Hashimoto's, right? From hyper to hypo, yeah, because we're talking about the body, which is a dynamic process. It's a dynamic process being dancing under the what do you call it? Under the stars. It's being moved by everything. The body's being moved by, and it's doing exactly what it needs to do, and it's under the auspices of the divine. So it's this fantastic thing, this fantastic phenomenon, the body, and we got to be in awe of it and respect it and deal with it and try to make it happy. Say, okay, well let's not get. You know what? If you have to go through this adaptive process, you're not going to be around as long. So let's make that adaptive process not necessary. Yeah, that's what we're doing. I know you think it sounds, well, that's overly simplistic. No, it's not. It's exactly it. And by the way, what I'm talking about encompasses everything. So that's what I'm saying about ALS. And keep that in mind. It's very important because a lot of you are going to, not a lot of you, but some of you are going to have people that are told they have such a thing. Okay, so diagnosis, prognosis, ooh. And poor Solomon, you got all these words and numbers and stuff, genetic and all that stuff. And then I think you should start eating human food. Anyway, Sawadee Kap, Namaste, Namaskar, Aloha. And next week, right, we're going to manifest it like people think we can do. Let's manifest no technical problems next week, okay?